Welcome to the Nomad Network, your first stop for complete and comprehensive Chicago Bears football coverage. Dive deep into analyses, updates, and all things Bears. Subscribe to our YouTube channel today and never miss a beat. Thank you in advance for your support. We promise to bring you the best because together we're unstoppable. Go Bears!
Yo, no maniacs. Welcome into another edition of Feed the Bears, where I do my job to feed you, the Bears, the best content we can give you. Today's a good one, man. We got 8 days in. We're 8 days into official training camp stuff. We got pretty much a week in the books of pads almost, and they're starting to ramp it up a little bit. I heard Ben Johnson before the practice today. They were very intentional about it. Was about a 2.5 hour practice, 2 hours and 40 minutes, somewhere in that neighborhood. And it was they intensified things a little bit. They're still not like click clacking like I'm expecting them to do like real soon. Like somewhere towards the end of the week, I think it might be like Saturday or something like that. I think they'll ratchet it up a little bit more, and just because they know they're gonna have a day off or so, and then they're gonna probably pick it back up where they left off on Monday or Tuesday. But as you can see on the thumbnail, you can see that Luther Burden is starting to show up and show why he was picked where he was picked, man. But I got a lot of notes to talk about from a lot of reporters. Give me a second while I shout out the first two in the chat. My guy Jay Capone, the Don, #1 in the chat today. And right after him, it was Nick Renberg. #3 today. They got you today, Crimson. Crimson's #3 today. FFG just busted up in this piece. Let me see here. Levante, right on, bro. Junior in here. So yeah, man. Good looking stuff out here. Man. I heard a lot that I liked today, and I also was able to get my eyes on a bunch that I liked today. We would just start on the offense. You know what? Let's not do that yet, because we got a little bit of news about Jalen Johnson. And Jalen doesn't sound like, at first, when I first heard about whatever was going on, whether it's his injury, whatever it was leg related, right? And so it sounded like soft tissue injury or something like that. And they said it was going to be like a few weeks before he's in camp. Update, don't look like we're going to see Jalen Johnson at all in this camp. We probably won't see him until week 1 unless some things happen in a short period of time that changes that. I don't think we're going to see Jalen Johnson at all in this camp, and I don't know what to think about that. I know that my guy Bishop got with me yesterday, and he was talking about that, and he was asking, what do you think it is with Jalen Johnson? Do you think it's really some kind of injury going on with him, or you think I was just like, what? There's no real way of knowing. Is it possible that he might be shaking the tree trying to get rework contract? Possible. And I won't be mad at him for doing that. It ain't my money. If you can get some more money out of him, great, shake the tree. But at the end of the day, he may or may not get it. If he doesn't get it, he has to play with the contract he's signed up. So, I really don't have any say over it, and don't know if that's even a reason why he's out of camp right now. But I know we're missing him. But I believe some of the guys that we have out there, you talking about your Nashon Wrights, been sounding good so far in camp. The entire camp, he's been sounding good. Tyreek Stevenson showed up today. Saw a nice little pick by Terrell Smith, but we'll get into all of that. Also, let me see. Looking at some of this other stuff in here. Oh, man. Ozzie was also getting first-team reps in 11 on 11 reps today. That's about as far as I can probably tell you guys as far as anything goes with him. He was getting the 1 reps on 11 on 11. When they got into like team period and started doing stuff like situation, I can't tell you exactly who was taking the 1 reps, but I know early in the 11 on 11s, it was Ozzie Trapillo. And so we know that. I would say this before I forget to say it. If you heard Ben Johnson's presser today, it sounds like, a lot of things was riding on this practice right here. The duration of the practice, how long it's going to take, and see if guys will step up or fall off. So it wouldn't be surprising to me after about a week in pads, which is something I told you all to look out for. After about a week, that we might, and I'm not saying it's gonna happen. It's a possibility that later on in the day when the coaches get together and start doing evals on some guys, they might release a player or two. Wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. They might release a player or two, pick up a guy or two. You know what I mean? Just because, that's just what happens at this part of camp. You might see some guys like, on that lower end of the depth charts, like, it's not good enough. I see some other guys on the free agent market that might be able to help us out a little bit more. Some guys I'm familiar with, thinking, whether it's Ben Johnson or Dennis Allen, it might be some guys out there that they see can come in and help us a little bit more. So don't be surprised after a big practice like this that a guy or two might come up missing. You might release a guy or two. But let me go in the chat and see what everybody's talking about. Crimson, you dig. Shout out. He says, I grow less and less concerned about depth each and every day. Me too. I felt good about it on paper for sure, on both sides of the ball. Mainly when I talk about depth, first thing I think of is the trenches. How deep are we in the trenches? Because I say it all the time, and it's the truth all the time. Your team is no better than the depth you have in the trenches. That's just all it is to it. And so, yeah, I feel good about it too, bro. Shout out to AC Adam, just busted up in here. Kenny, he says, I can't wait to see this team as a collective. Everything going to look a lot different from last year. I believe that, man. I believe that. We're going to get into some details that I found out about. Crimson wants to know, who do I think might be on that list? It is hard to say. It is very, very hard to say. I would imagine that it's probably, if some guys come up missing in camp, it's probably on the defensive side of the ball, some stuff that Dennis Allen might be seeing as far as depth goes. I would say could be somebody in the secondary room. I would just say that I think they're I ain't gonna say concerned about safety, but I can tell by how many players that are coming and going and how active they were in the free agent period. I can tell it's something they're worried about. That they want to make sure they got the proper depth there. So I wouldn't be surprised if a safety comes or goes, or two. You never know. But that's where I would put my money. Edward Buckley, shout out to you for coming in, man. Appreciate you so much. Appreciate everybody, man. Let me see here. Also, I almost forgot. So Zay Frasier is he's out for a personal reason. That was clear today by Ben Johnson. He's not being specific about what it is, and if it's personal, then it's personal. Nobody needs to be knowing what's going on outside of people in that building. I don't care what it is. I care, but I don't care to delve into why he might be away from football. But I know he's missing a whole lot of camp. So whatever it is, it must be a good ass reason, because these coaches ain't gonna excuse this much missing this much training camp without it being a good reason. So prayers up for whatever's going on with Zay Frasier. We don't know, but whatever it is, it's something. We just don't know what it is exactly. Let me see. Kenny says Zach Pickens is probably gone soon. I don't know about that. I heard some stuff about Zach, and it sounded like he was flashing in team periods and stuff like that. And that was like a day or two ago. I don't know about that. We'll see. I think he's, you know what, Kenny? I think he's too valuable of a draft pick for them to just choke out and give up on him this early. I'm not saying that he's going to definitely make this roster. I'm not saying that, because you could possibly be right. But to let him go at this point in training camp would mean that draft pick was a total failure, total disaster. And there's nothing that not even Dennis Allen, the new D-line coach, can do to kind of help him bring his game up a level. That would be a disaster, bro. That would be an absolute disaster. But we'll see how things go, man. I have heard a couple good things about him in camp so far. Not a lot, but a few things. Let me see. FFG says, I think the best weapon we have this season is the unknown, because nobody can game plan for what they've seen. That is true. That's ultimately going to be the truth at the end of the day. Nobody knows. Only thing people have offensively for us is the template that Ben Johnson built in Detroit. And we ain't going to look exactly like that. And you can't game plan for whatever it looked like in Detroit, because they had different personnel. These guys are completely different. And I would just say overall more talented than the group in Detroit, to be quite honest with you. So you are right, man. There's no game planning for what you don't know. There's no game planning for it. But slowly as the preseason goes on, there'll be teams that'll get some of that footage from the joint practices with Miami and Buffalo. They'll scour that stuff and kind of get an idea of what Ben Johnson is going to put on the table. But even then, they'll go back to the drawing board after those practices, because it'll be stuff in those plays that they're going to say, all right, we want to keep some of this. And there'll be stuff in there that ain't looking as well, man. We need to get some other stuff going on. So they do ultimately have the element of surprise that's definitely behind them. So shout out to you for that comment, FFG. Shout out to Don Burr, busted up in this thing. What up, dude? Let me see. Yeah, y'all, our receiver room is more talented than y'all overall. You know damn well they are. Come on now. Over from top to bottom, you know fucking well they're way more talented than that receiver group in Detroit. Those guys were very effective, but nah, man, they can't hold a candle to this group right here. Not whatsoever. Crimson says, I don't think it's gonna look anything like Detroit personally. I believe we have more talent at the QB and wide receiver and less talent at running back. I was just talking about receivers, but to a point, I think we do have a more talented QB, but he ain't exactly how he can't. Let's just say his production level is going, in my opinion, going to be less than Jared Goff until he kind of has a grasp of it. Because Jared Goff, that dude started off like 3 and freaking 14 or something like that with the first year with the Detroit Lions, man. So he didn't even start off well in that offense. So it's like anything else, Crimson. It's going to take time for people, and not just Caleb, but everybody else to get acclimated to what they're doing. The receivers, everybody, offensive line, which is something I keep hearing. And I seen a little bit of it in practice today, a little bit of, jumpiness from who was it? Darnell Wright jumped off sides today, but and all I can take is Ben Johnson's word for this, because I can't say that I physically saw what I'm about to describe to you. And that's just getting to the line of scrimmage and something about the cadence. Caleb Williams' consistency and cadence. And so what I'm about to describe is, when you get a consistency in the cadence, everybody's firing off. The offensive line is firing off the ball at the same time. They're rolling off that ball at the same time in sequence every single time that ball gets snapped. And sometimes you got a guy coming off the ball a little bit early. Sometimes you got a guy coming off the ball a little bit late based on the cadence. And so right about now, it's his voice, the sound of his voice, the cues in his voice that they're getting used to as a collective. And right about now, it's just choppy. And this is Ben Johnson speaking this. I'm just taking another layer to it to help everybody else understand why it is. And so if Caleb Williams goes to the line of scrimmage and says, blue 18, kill, kill, kill. And when he gets back under center and gets ready to hike the ball, if it's not timed up right, those guys are going to kind of misfire. So guys will come off a little bit. One will be a little bit later than the other. Stuff like that. But that's easy stuff to clean up. It just takes a number of reps on the field. So I'm not so much worried about that. As an offensive coordinator, I can see why he wants to put his foot on the gas to make sure that they start getting that stuff cleaned up. Because you take that kind, if that's the way it looks going into the season, you're going to get a bunch of miscues, bad timing stuff. You're going to get a bunch of, illegal procedure penalties and all kinds of stuff that's going to go on. So that sounds like a real work in progress right now. Let me look at a couple comments here. Yeah, they were. He says, Crimson says the Lions were pretty bad before they promoted Ben Johnson to OC, for sure. Let me see. Don Burr says, man, we heard the same bullshit about Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and Rome last year. And last year raced the 1K best wide receiver trio in football. How'd that turn out? Detroit, what do you say? 2 1K wide receivers, not even close. Man, listen, we talking about last year, bro. You talking about last year. We ain't talking about last year. That's a different group. And you didn't hear me running around here talking about all that shit about how much yardage all these guys are going to get together. That shit was a work in progress. It's all a bunch of yahoos on Twitter talking all that shit, not me. But you being realistic about everything, talking about the yardage and how much this receiver can get versus this receiver, man, there's too many mouths to feed to make even an educated guess on how good that's going to look. I think it's going to look good, but the ball is going to be sprayed around and separated. You might have a guy to get 1,000 yards, but you might have a couple of guys between 700 and 800 yards and a bunch of guys with 500. And so I would rather see that than one guy get the bulk of the touches. I would rather see that, but that's just my opinion. Also, something else to take note of: for the second or third day in a row, DJ Moore is taking a lot of reps coming out of the backfield. Don, don't be running to Detroit podcasts and telling Detroit coaches that DJ Moore is a running back and shit. Don't be doing that shit. But yeah, I saw a couple of reps out of there. It wasn't like full speed reps with, full hitting or nothing like that. It was just like 7-on-7 periods, 11-on-11. They're motioning him out of the backfield, doing certain stuff. It looked good in a full speed drill that I saw yesterday. It was kind of like a motion reversal, I guess you would want to call it, but it looked pretty good when I was watching it on film. So I think the plan is for them to make sure that they get the ball in DJ Moore's hands, however they have to do it. If that's motioning him in out of the slot and having him run the ball from the backfield, so be it. But get the ball in your best player's hands. Period, point blank. Let me look at a couple chats. Let me see. Shout out to Dango 2234. Thank you for coming in here. One of our guys out off of Twitch, man. Appreciate seeing you in here. DJ is mid, huh, Don? All right, let me get to some more notes that I had. So this is just little stuff that I think this is Alex Shapiro. He says it was 11-on-11 session. Tremaine smoked the shit out of Kyle Monangai. But then he said, no, I take that back. I think it was Bragg's. And then Kyle Monangai came back a play or two later and had a nice little, wide zone run out to it for a nice yardage gain or something like that. But Tremaine is definitely flashing in practice per everybody that I hear from. Let me see. I said DJ's taking them reps. Olamide Zaccheaus continues to look good out there, whether it's with Caleb Williams at quarterback, who had a nice throw to him earlier in practice today. Man, it was a pretty nice looking throw. That's all over Twitter right about now. It was kind of off schedule, and Caleb had to kind of step up in the pocket, roll out a little bit right, and step up in the pocket. And it was nice, like about a 30-yard pass, 40-yard pass over the middle. Nice, dotted it right on with coverage draping all over him. It was nice to see. But that was a shot from Caleb to Olamide Zaccheaus. Seen another shot or two from Tyson Bagent, who also looked good in practice out there today. Hooked up with Olamide Zaccheaus really, really well. And we're gonna get to this conversation about how good Luther Burden did look out there. It ain't just people talking on Twitter. He wasn't. I can't say that he was there during the physical 11-on-11 team stuff, but I know in the 11-on-11 drills, he's out there cooking people, man. He is flashing big time out there. He looks like the player that we drafted, and he looks hungry out there. And he should be, because I think Olamide Zaccheaus in particular, guys like that, they're out there. They've been showing out in camp a lot. And so prior to Luther Burden getting back in practice and getting himself acclimated to what they're doing right now, it was looking like Olamide Zaccheaus was going to be a favorite. And it still looks like he could be a favorite target of Caleb Williams, and they're going to use him a lot in this offense. But I'm telling you right now, Luther Burden is experiencing pressure from, just watching the practices and seeing what Olamide Zaccheaus is producing out there. And I'm sure the coaches from the background like, hey, man, you better hurry and get your ass out here and start producing, bro. You see what 14 is doing every day in practice? Dog, you better get. And apparently he is heeding the message, bro, because he looked explosive out there today. And every single, whether it was 7-on-7s, 11-on-11s, whoever the quarterback was, man, he was out there getting open, and they was getting him that ball, man. It was a good day for him. You can see what I can definitely tell you is I feel like Luther Burden, everything is starting to speed up a little bit. It ain't as slow, and he's not having as many of those alignment issues that the coach was talking about. Man, he looks more full speed than he was at the very beginning. You know what I mean? Not saying that he wasn't, but all the stuff that you was hearing about him getting thrown out of practice, he doesn't seem to be having he's not repeating the same mistakes. I would just say that. And it looks really, really good. Shout out to Trapper Keeper, who just busted up in here. I've seen some video, Trapper Keeper, of Tyler Scott. Didn't look so bad, man. He's fast as shit out there. I know that. And they're finding ways to get the ball in his hands. But, You know, he's still on, to me, in my opinion, unless something dramatically changes in this camp, he's still on the outside looking in my opinion. FFG says DJ was 1K receiver with a poor quarterback play. In 5 out of 7 years, Don still got NFC championship hangover. No, Komet is with the ones, man. They're doing stuff with Cole Komet too, man. That's going to be kind of foreign to our eyes because we haven't seen that much diversity in how they line Cole Komet up. Either he's playing in line tight with the line of scrimmage and the offensive line and in blocking, or he's out kind of wide, and it just wasn't that much variation of how they use Cole Komet. As you know, fast forward to now, they're putting him in the slot, they're motioning him, shifting him, have him. And by the way, not Cole Komet, but Colson Loveland had a nice ass block on the perimeter, man, sealed off Elijah Hicks for I think a Caleb Williams run. I think that happened yesterday, but that was noticeable how fast he got out there on Elijah Hicks and sealed him, man. It was really, really nice to see. That's the kind of detailed stuff that you look forward to seeing, because I'm going to tell you right now, and I've said this a million times, if these receivers, and that includes the tight ends, don't buy into their blocking assignments, none of this stuff was going to look good. None of it whatsoever. And so it's very encouraging seeing, Colson Loveland buy into that aspect of what he has to do when the ball's not coming to you. Get out there and seal that block off so this guy has a lane to run the ball. That was beautiful to see. I've seen multiple plays like that from him. I've seen plays like that out of Olami Zacchaeus in particular. Seen a couple from DJ Moore, but they're buying into that whole scheme of, look, no block, no rock. You got to get out there and get your assignments. Get out there and hit your aim and point, seal, and make a lane for these guys that are running this ball or receiving the ball. But that is a clear message that the coaches have gotten through to these guys, and I can see it on the field already. Let me see. Yeah, Ruben Hippolyte in the 2-minute periods was definitely flashing out there. Him, also Carl Jones, as a matter of fact. So both of those names kind of came out today out of the reporters, man. People were noticing in the situational 2-minute period, those two guys were flashing out there for sure. Let me see. Don talking shit again. Let me see. And FFG says, has anybody been to training camp to see what passing looks like out of 12 personnel? They're running a lot of it. I've seen several videos of 12 personnel. I've seen one video in particular. They had 12 personnel out there where Caleb called a shift and motioned Cole Komet into the backfield as a fullback. And it was a nice looking run play too, man. They're doing a lot of stuff out of that 12 personnel, and they're going to have to, the 12 personnel FFG is going to be so advantageous for us because we have dynamic weapons. And so you can run Cole and you can kind of move those guys around, Cole and Colson, kind of move them around. Then you put DJ and let's just say whoever, Luther Burden out there. You put those guys out there on the edge or something like that. You got a pretty explosive combination of guys out there for 12 personnel. And you got one running back there. That's a pretty explosive personnel grouping. And you want to, it's kind of hard to defend that, especially when they're running the ball on you a couple of times and then they come out of it and play action and start dumping it off to the tight end. Might get a one-on-one on the outside with one of those receivers because they're kind of crowding the box. So it's many, many ways that 12 personnel could come off and really give us some advantages. Let me see. Cornell Bryant, shout out to Cornell for busting up in here. All right, let me get to some other notes that I had. Let me see. Olami, Ozzy. And Caleb is also, he's having a pretty good day today. What I noticed that I keep paying attention to is the operational part of it, how well they're getting off the ball, how, it's hard for me to tell you that I've been watching, because not very many reporters or anybody out there at Bears camp are going and kind of filming how fast Caleb Williams is getting those plays in from the sidelines and getting them to the line of scrimmage. I've yet to see one of the reporters go and take that kind of stuff because they're looking for the splash plays just like the average person. But to me, I'm looking for, how fast is he speeding that process up? Because I think that's going to be a big deal this year. But once they get to the line of scrimmage, they seem to be operating pretty fast, and Caleb seems to be acclimating. He was throwing pretty nice balls out there today. He looked good, and but not to be outshined by Tyson Bagent, who also looked really, really good out there. But everything seems to be taking a step. Every day you seem to be seeing a bunch more good stuff out there. They're operating good, and it's encouraging to see. There's still, to me, a long, long, long way to go. But the steps they're taking day by day, they seem to be getting better and better. And Caleb Williams is stacking good practices. And that's what you want to hear. At this point, you don't want to hear what you might between now and the end of training camp. You might have a couple more days where people be talking disaster, and worry. You might have some days like that because it's training camp. It's going to be like that. The defense is going to ratchet. They're going to ratchet their shit up a notch and give Caleb Williams problems. Guaranteed. Let me get to a couple other comments in here. I can't say whether, like, if they just put regular 11 personnel, let's just say the very start of the season, is Cole Kmet going to be the one, or is Colston Loveland going to be the one? I don't know. Cornell. It's just hard for me to say. I think as of right now, a smart team would be like, okay, Colston's a rookie. I know we drafted him number 10, but let him naturally beat out. I think that process, we're still in that process, to be honest with you. But it'd be a surprise to me, Cornell, if he ended up being outright named as a starter. That would be totally surprising to me. That would mean to me that it's possibly going to be a move in the works somewhere around the trade deadline for Cole Kmet. If Colston Loveland is outright named as a starter, I would think they're going to move Cole Kmet, because Cole Kmet ain't going to be happy about that. So that's just the way I look at it. There's no way for me to know who's going to be outright the starter at this point, because they run so many different personnel groupings. Just nobody really knows yet. Shoot, I appreciate you for that, Cornell. Please get the likes up, you guys. We got over 120 some people in here. I still got some notes to go over here. Trapper Keeper says, why can't we start both 12 personnel? There's gonna be games when they have to start both, depending on who we playing. I can imagine like a game against Detroit, physical team up front, and they want to establish a running game on that team. You can almost guarantee both of those guys will be starting in 12 personnel, because that's a smart thing to do. Establish your will against physical teams like that, and watch. And as you surge and prove that you can run the ball against them, everything starts to open up a little bit. So I shout out to Trapper Keeper for that comment. Don Burr said they doubt us every year, no big deal. Hey Don, I already told you, man. Nobody, as far as I go on this channel, will tell you that the Alliance is going to be shit this year. I don't believe that. They're too good of a team. I'm telling you that I think you guys missed the window. And I'm also telling you, I don't think that the offense is going to function quite the way it did when Ben Johnson was there. It's just always going to be a little drop-off. Always going to be a little drop-off. Could be a big drop-off. But I believe 110%. Y'all had like a 3-year window to get one. That 9-8 season, I felt like y'all was somewhat good enough to get in there, sneak in there, and get y'all one. Missed it there. Season after that, you missed it there, and just now, you just missed another one. I think that window is only open for a certain amount of times. I'm going to tell you right now, Don, what's going to get y'all this year is some of y'all main guys, man, and y'all start to see that last year. Some of those main guys are going to come up missing, and y'all going to be too beat up to really go deep in the playoff, I believe. By the time the playoffs get there, y'all going to be beat to shit with the way Dan Campbell likes to play football. Y'all going to be beat up. I'm just going to tell you right now. It says, Trapper Keeper says they posting Greg Braggs on in Pat McAfee show. Oh, that's good for Braggs, bro. That's good for Braggs. All right, let me get to some more notes I had. I said Tyson Bagent was also having a really good practice today. We talked about Zay Frasier. Also, some bad news, and this could be an effect on the special teams, man. Long snapper, what's his name? Scott Daly was carted off the field today, and they had to bring in. We brought a UDFA long snapper in for this case scenario, and he's a long snapper out of Iowa who is a teammate of our partner Tory Taylor. So they already have a connection, but You know, a long snapper has to, you know, it's you don't want to hear stuff like that, but it feels like they bolstered up that situation and brought that UDFA in here for a reason. Hopefully Scott Daly is going to be all right, but that's something we probably need to keep an eye on and monitor to see how that goes. You know, it could be some news coming out on the long snapper now, but I haven't seen it. But please monitor that. It's going to be interesting to see how things go, man. Let me see. Cornell Bryant asks, he says, what's your thoughts on JJ McCarthy and the Vikings this season, Nomad? I think we shouldn't sleep on them yet. I'm not going to sleep on them, but I'm going to tell you this right now. He's a rookie quarterback. I got the utmost confidence in Kevin O'Connell as a quarterback whisperer. He is really, really good, and the proof is in the pudding. Anybody that can take a guy like Sam Darnold, who I don't think is a terrible quarterback, I never thought he was, and have the season that he has with him, there's some finer points about quarterback play in this offense that a really good coach, a detailed coach, can kind of narrow down for a quarterback depending on where you're getting them at. You're talking about a rookie. I'm not saying we're gonna people should look past Minnesota. I'm not saying that whatsoever, but I'm gonna tell you right now, he ain't gonna be the quarterback that we had to face last year, and that was, you know, he's not gonna be the same guy. We'll take advantage of him. I will tell you that right now. The defense will take advantage of him. Our defense will probably, you know, depending on how many times they give the ball back to Caleb Williams in this offense, I think we win that game. I think we beat that cat up. If they disguise this stuff well enough, no rookie can decode all these NFL defenses this early. He's trying to learn a new offense, a new verbiage, just like Caleb Williams is. So that guy ain't gonna be the most productive guy early in the season. Come week later on in the season, when we face him later on, he's gonna definitely be a different quarterback. But early on, man, we'll bust his ass. He ain't got nothing coming early. Tell you that right now. Let me see in the chat here. Minnesota defense seek and destroy y'all. I mean, we know what the defense can do. If they can do the same shit to y'all, they can do the same shit to y'all, especially without Ben Johnson calling them plays. Same damn shit. All right. Let me look at some more notes we got here. Oh, newly signed cornerback Trey Flowers is having a day out there too, man. He was out there being sticky in coverage. Saw a couple of videos on him too. He looks really good out there. Deion Hankins, running back Deion Hankins, UDFA, he left practice early today, not too long after Scott Daly, but no updates. I don't think he got carted off. I didn't hear about anything like that. He just left practice early for whatever reason. Don't have any details on that as of yet. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about, you know, they was doing a bunch of 11-on-11 team stuff, you know, not full contact is what I saw on film. But when they got into the situational 2-minute drill stuff, I think that was full contact. And Caleb was, let's just say, okay in that. He ended those sessions with a pick to Tyreek Stevenson, I believe. That happened. Bajan had a 4th and 10 completion to actually Luther Burden. And then right after that, a touchdown to Joel Wilson, I believe. That's per Courtney Cronin. So, you know, you had a little choppy with the first team and then put the second team in, did a little bit better. People might make some news out of that, but it's just regular stuff. But Caleb has definitely got it. Every time they get in these periods, it's just like inconsistencies there. And we need him to be efficient down in those particular kinds of periods. When you got 2 minutes, man, you got to be quick, you got to be snappy, and you got to get that ball moving. You can't end those sessions with interceptions and turnovers and stuff like that. That's not good news. You know, if you got to dirt a ball or throw the ball over into the stands, you do that, but you don't end those sessions with interceptions. Now, I can imagine, like, if it's getting down to the last couple of seconds on the clock, and it's a make or break play, and you got to throw that ball into somebody's hands one way or the other, I can understand that. But I don't really know exactly what the situation is. But anytime it ends in an interception, you don't want that kind of stuff in the 2-minute drills, man. It's just not good. Let me see. Agent. Let me see. He also threw in the same 2-minute situation. He also threw another one to Jaquan Brisker. It was an end of game session, by the way. So that's one of the particular sessions that teams do. They'll kind of mock the last seconds of the game, and he ended up throwing a pick at the end of the game session to Jaquan Brisket. Not the best of news, bro. Not the best. Let me see. Also, there was another real bad throw by, just so we ain't piling on Caleb Williams. Bajan threw a real bad lazy throw. I think it was going out to Luther Burden again. And Terrell Smith picked it, man, over on the right hash somewhere. It was like anybody in the world can pick it. It wasn't like a hell of a play by Terrell Smith. It was just a real bad lazy throw by Tyson Bajan. But, those are just ups and downs just to let you know that Tyson Bajan wasn't just soaring out there and Caleb Williams was looking so-so. Tyson Bajan was throwing some bad looking shit out there too. So that was that. Let me get to a couple of comments before we get ready to get out of here, because I don't really have a bunch of notes left. Anybody got any questions or comments before we get out of here, let me know. Be glad to talk to y'all. He says, Levante says, both sides of the ball looking good. They are definitely looking better for sure. They looking better. I'm encouraged when I say Caleb Williams. Shout out to Calvin C, who just busted up in here. I'm encouraged when I tell you that every time I look at, every morning I get up and start looking at the videos that they're putting out there, the reporters, and shout out to all the reporters putting good video out there. Every time I look at it, every day seems to be something that I see that's getting a little bit better. And so Caleb Williams stacking, day after day in practice, you got about 3 straight days of him not having disaster practices. That's good, man. That means there's some growth going on. That's a lot of growth going on. I'm seeing things get better and better every single day, whether it be individuals or whether it be the offensive line, whether it be a quarterback stuff that I'm watching, and even defensively, I'm seeing stuff getting better and better every day. Those dudes are flying out there, bro. Absolutely flying. Let me see. He said, Levante says, Nomad, you watching that trash ass Hall of Fame game today? I'm gonna try to, man. I'm definitely gonna try to watch it. The ops playing, we gotta watch it. Yeah, I'm a podcaster and have to report to y'all what I'm seeing out there. I'm definitely gonna be watching Detroit today, mainly Detroit. But I'm a football fan, so I'm gonna just enjoy the game. But I will be taking notes for sure, Don. So all that shit talking you do right now, let me see if you bring them receipts after this damn game when y'all look like hogwash out in that motherfucker. All right, man. But that's all the notes I have for today, man. I'm waiting to see if anybody else come in here. Give them a few more seconds before I get up out of here, because I do got to go do some yard work. My new lawnmower came in today, man. I got to assemble that piece so I can go out here and jump on this yard work. It's been piling up out here, man. But hey, man, I'm not seeing any more new comments. And it was fun being in here with you guys today. Shout out to you all for jumping in here and being lively in the chat. I want to remind people, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. If you're new to the channel, grab that, hit that subscribe button. It ain't gonna cost you nothing. It ain't gonna hurt you either. It ain't gonna bite you. Just hit that subscribe button, pop, and join the nice ass community over here, Bears football fans, man. But that's all we have for today. And I want to leave you guys with these famous words. Oh, we got a question that came in at the last minute. Rocket Dreams, shout out to Rocket Dreams. It says, what's up with Cole Kmet? Have you heard anything? What I'm hearing today, what was clear today, the way they were using Cole Kmet, Rocket Dreams. And it's a lot of variation to how they want him to function. He's shifting and in motion a whole lot, shifting from slot receiver in tight with the offensive line. And then also saw a video of today of him shifting out of the slot in motion and coming and lining up in the backfield as a fullback. So I was talking about that earlier before you came in here. So I thought that was noticeable. And so I would say Cole Kmet, I don't think they're going to add a fullback at this point. They could be looking at Deion Hankins to be playing that role sometimes. Who knows? But if they go another way, I think Cole Kmet will be our quasi fullback at times and function that way as much as he will be a tight end and doing that tight end kind of stuff. And so I thought that was interesting to see. I think we're probably going to see a little bit more of that as the weeks go by in this training camp. Cole Kmet, shifting into the backfield and playing fullback at times. So we'll see, man. Yeah, he's working on his blocking. Levante said that game gonna be dog shit. But I'm gonna watch it anyway, Levante, because you can pick up a lot of stuff from your ops and see what it ain't gonna show a whole lot, but it's gonna be fun to watch. It's football, man. I'm a football fan regardless. I'm gonna be watching it no matter who is playing. I'm gonna be probably watching that game. All right, shout out to King Booker, who just busted up in here at the last minute. Make sure you spin back on his King book and watch the rest of it. It's a lot of good notes I put out there today, man, from these reporters. Good stuff to talk about. So, but I do got to get out of here so I can go tidy up the property, man. So I'm going to leave you guys with these famous words. If you can think it and you can see it, there's no reason in the world why you cannot absolutely manifest it. Do not, and I repeat, do not be a prisoner of your own mind. But with that being said, I am